Hey guys, how y'all doing? I'm here to give you guys a recap on the new episode of Shingeki no Kyojin Season 3 on Episode 3, or you could call it Attack on Titan Season 3 on Episode 3. This episode right here reveals a lot about Historia and Erwin, or Erwin, whichever pronunciation you go with. Anyways, those of you guys who watched the episode or manga readers would know what I'm talking about. Those of you guys haven't and just watching a recap or review just for small just to save time, you may not even understand a lot of details of what I'll give out. So, if anything else, let's just get this started. We have to it that Historia opens up about her past, apparently. We see to it when she was a young girl, she would usually do all the farming work and usually do a lot of chores around the area. While she ends up reading a book involving about maybe a child and a mother here and there. We have to it that she never had these kinds of affections. And she did try to hug her mother one time and she gets shoved aside. But she never actually had any remorse over it or feel treated badly because that's the first time her mother ever interacted with her. And of course her mother says if only I had guts to kill you. And eventually we have to that Historia will explain that her mother will go out in the city, possibly dressing all fancy looking, nice, whatever you want to call it. But when it came to one time when meeting her father, apparently, things gotten a little out of hand. This is where Kenny and his group comes in and ends up having to kill Historia's mother right in front of her. But before she died or she got killed, she ends up screaming at Historia, if only you weren't born or something, that's it. And she ends up being slit. And we have to it that Historia's father explains that he's not her father. I have no relation to this child, but I have another idea before Kenny will kill her, And that is to he gives Historia a new name by saying, you go by the name of Christina Lenz and you will live in peace for the time being, you understand? And we have to it that it goes back to a present time where Historia apologizes to Rod Race apologizes to Historia. I'm so sorry. I had to protect you, okay? Our Reese family is the true royal line here and there. Then there is a scene with with the jail cell with someone what's the guy's name? I don't know, who was interrogated. He ends up strangling his former comrade for betraying him, but Han says that guy didn't say anything. We forced him to read the script whatsoever. That's it. You call yourselves freaking traitors. You look at yourself now. Enjoy being in cell right now. You hear me? And we see to it that Hanj explains to the entire squad that Levi and the entire squad that Aaron will get eaten. Forgive my pronunciation and struggling of my stupid information givings. Aside from that, going back to where Hanj explains to everyone that Aaron's going to get eaten, apparently, Aaron remembers his conversation with Ymir, Bertolt, and Reiner, etc. And it got to a point where they end up realizing that Ymir was actually a former Titan, and she ends up eating one of Reiner and Bertolt's friend, and she ends up being human eventually and became one that Titan holding Transformers, And we have to it that Mikasa, realizing the danger Eren is in, she wants to take action, but Levi says, you gotta calm down right now, alright? Now's not the time to get into a freaking crazy rush and cause some chaos. And we see to it that Erwin ends up having a little talk with Commander Pixies about what the government is doing, apparently. And of course, Erwin wants Commander Pixies to listen to his story, and we have to it that Hanji explains the situation to Erwin and realizes that he is already in trouble. And this involves the death of, what's the guy's name? Reeves? Yeah, his name's Reeves. He was killed by Kenny, of course, but apparently the government shifts the blame to Erwin and everyone else, apparently, of the Scout Regiment, etc., And this is where things kind of gotten really out of hand, because I don't see them being part of this murder scheme whatsoever. But after that, we have to it when Erwin was given the sentencing to go to the government, etc. We see to it that we go to a scene where Erwin explains his story, his backstory to Commander Pixies. We see to it that he explains to Pixies that when he was a little kid, he would listen to his father being a teacher here and there, and he would ask a question which his father would not explain. But eventually, when he got home, he explains everything to him when they were at home, involving like the book and everything else might be contradictions or a big lie. And we have to it that when he told his son, when Erwin's father told him about this, he actually had to be kind of somewhat ridiculous, even though he was just a young child, that he tells it to his friends and everyone. But apparently that led to his father's death, etc., because the government killed them off for being too smart. And this is where it was revealed that in last week's episode, where one guy said we had to kill someone who was too smart for this. I'm thinking in my mind, yeah, just shut up, all right? Aside from me going back into last week's episode, let's get back to the episode right here. Aside from continuing off where Erwin's father gotten killed, we have to it that Erwin also realizes that the government, whoever threatens their rule or actually goes against them, will be extinguished on the spot because there's a theory that Erwin's father made that the king had altered the memories to make them easy to rule or maybe to hide something. And we see to it that eventually what was revealed later in the process is that the government, they're not caring about the humanity or the people. They just want to protect their own land, their gardens, their houses, and that's about it. And whoever dares like goes against them, etc., they will be killed on the spot. And this is where things got really hectic right now. And after that backstory where Erwin explains Commander Pixies about his past, etc., we see to it that the scouts are now wanted, while Hanji and the others, including Levi, are on the run. The episode ends up with Sasha having to hear a couple footsteps, and they're coming to them after they have a little small talk of what's happening after Armin relays the information what's going on. So, yeah, pretty much overall, without a lot of detail in simple sentences here and there, this episode is mostly about Historia and Erwin's backstory. Historia's backstory of where she got today, and of course, like Erwin's backstory about how his father got killed and made a theory that the king altered people's memories to make them easy to rule or to hide something. So, yeah, like I said, this episode revealed a lot of what's to come. Possibly things could get way more chaotic than it has to be, but we'll have to find out. I mean, we're getting closer to some kind of truth that Erwin has been keeping in his heart. He wants to know he wants to prove his father's theory, and that was the truth. And yeah, so and Historia is his backstory. Well, yeah, it sucks. That really sucks. So that's about it. Until then, I will see you guys in the next video. So I'm Alpha Zero, people. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, peace out. Bye bye. Toot toot toot.